This is a story about the time on how a prank that I pulled at high school almost got me expelled from high school. Okay, so this story takes place back around like March 2017. And I was a junior at this time. I went to the high school called Everett High School in Lansing, Michigan. And if you're from Lansing, Michigan, then you know of the three schools in the Lansing School District: Everett, Sexton, and Eastern. And to be honest, Everett High School, it was okay. It wasn't that bad. I didn't have that bad of an experience and such. And that is my personal opinion. I've heard stories, I've heard people having awful experiences at that school. But yeah, so throughout the entire year, I was just keeping to myself. I had been getting good grades and everything. And this was after the fact of that whole roasting situation where I almost got jumped for roasting people that were butthurt and all. And how I figured things out was that one day I was just at home. I think this was during a weekday. I was on YouTube looking at pranks and everything. Then I saw some videos of people pranking their family or friends using the fart spray or that liquid butt spray. And it came to me and I was like, you know what? I'm about to do that. I'm about to do that at school. So what happens is that I decide that I'm going to prank folks with the liquid fart spray, the one that smells like eggs and everything, that one, not the booty one, the one that smells like straight up butt, because that one smells awful. I'll just say that, because the first time I ever smelled that one was during my freshman year. I was coming from, I think, gym hour, which was my second hour, and I don't know who had did it, but someone had sprayed, I guess, the entire bottle of the liquid butt spray, and I thought it was me at first because it was that bad of a smell. So I buy it from eBay, and it came weirdly though. It came on a Friday night, almost like 6 o'clock at night. And I'm like, that's kind of weird because it was supposed to be here in the morning, but for some reason it came that late, which was a little bit suspicious, but it didn't matter because Monday comes around and then I show all my friends the fart spray. I'm going to change the names of some of my friends just because. So I show one of my friends who I'm going to call DC. I showed DC the spray and he immediately wiped off his fingerprints on it because he knew that something bad was about to happen. And also, I think he was on probation at that time too. So getting suspended, not a good look. I showed Key, I showed Ty, I showed Mez, I showed Dare, I showed everyone this spray. I showed CJ too. And what happens was that I started using this spray by the end of my second hour because we had a sub at that time because my English teacher, his name was Mr. Coon. Coon. He was gone for that day. I think he was gone for the entire week actually. And so Ty and Dare, sometimes Mez, they used to mess around with each other, like play fighting and stuff, especially Dare. He was like a play fighter type. Like he used to mess with folks a lot. And then I was just talking to Key and another person who I'm going to name Tim. They was like, is she about to do it? Is she about to do it? I was like, you know what? I might as well do it. So then I pulled it out my bag. I shook it up, and then I started spraying and I accidentally sprayed Ty and Dare because they were still fighting around. And then no later than like 5 seconds, it came. The freaking smell came. And I just remember it was me and Key. We was on the lockers just looking at the reactions of people. And some of the people's reactions was like, or, and some even had their face covered, but a lot was just making that what the F face is like, who did that? But then I remember it was me and Key. We were all laughing and everything. And it just, the smell got so bad to the point. Tell me why Key almost threw up on the floors, because he was like, and we both ran to our next class, surprisingly, which was the last class of the entire building on the third floor. And I remember that day we had a freaking test, and I didn't study for this test. It was freaking geometry and such. And the math teacher, he was all right, but he did get fired by the end of the year. And I might tell a story on that. But yeah, I tried to cheat on a test, and luckily I didn't get caught cheating. He didn't come to my side. It didn't even work, because by the end of that test, I guess the next week when I got my results, I got a D on that test. I passed that class with like a freaking D. And math was not my best subject, but I wasn't no dummy. I'll just say that. So then me and Key, we get done with the class. And I noticed that the substitute teacher that was there for English, he wasn't there at that moment. So what I did was that I ran immediately back into the classroom, and I just sprayed the hell out that class. I sprayed that room for like a good, maybe like 2 to 3 seconds. But those 2 to 3 seconds were deadly, because I remember just running out that classroom so freaking fast, it was not even funny. And my hoodie, no, my sweatshirt I was wearing at the time was smelling like that too. So that was a bad sign. And also, I think for the first couple of days when I had the fart spray, it went pretty fine. I was doing it with different friends. DC, CJ, well, no, CJ didn't find out until a couple of weeks after the fact, but it was just me and a couple other people. We were just doing it in like different areas of the school. Like we would do it in the morning sometimes. Sometimes I would do it in the lunchroom. And then sometimes I would give it to my friends, such as Key, DC, etc. And they would just do it whatever. So a couple of weeks have gone by, and I'm doing it now. And what happens was that people are now starting to talk about who in the F is doing this. Like, people are trying to figure out, like, who is using that spray, who is spraying that fart spray all around that school. And so what I used to do is that during my 6th hour, I was a navigator. And basically a navigator is someone that helps people with severe disabilities, things like that. And the good thing about that class was that I got to leave out that classroom with everybody else like 20 minutes early, because they rode the bus. And then after that, I get to do whatever I wanted for like 20 minutes before the final bell of the day rang. So sometimes I would just be hanging out by the end of the doors, and on the right side there was a hallway. It was the New Tech hallways, and the New Tech was basically middle schoolers, like 7th to 8th graders, and they had a couple of classes down there. Matter of fact, I think it was like 9 to 10, and even had their own office too. And so I started spraying down there. And then whenever I saw freaking DC or Just, he was there sometimes, or a couple other folks, we would just do that to get the reactions of people. I remember one day, it was just an another 6-hour class, and I was just chilling there with DC, and we was just talking about some BS. And we saw this chick that was walking by, and I'm not going to say her real name because I don't know her personally at all. But yeah, she was just singing around on some BS, just chilling and everything. But then when she smelled what we had done, she gave me and DC both stank faces like, y'all don't smell that? Like, was that y'all? And such. It was that funny to me. So then the craziest day that ever happened, and what I mean the craziest day was that over 100, like 200 people smelled that spray. And so what happens was that this was the end of another 6-hour day, like I said, but this time it was DC, I think Just, and a couple of other folks. Yeah, a couple other folks, they found out that it was me that was doing that. And when CJ found out, he was laughing, but he was shocked at the same time, saying, "Oh, T, you a B for that, man. You the one that been doing all this? You're such a B for that, man." Like, he was laughing too because he couldn't believe that it was me. So then we decided we was going to destroy the whole hallway, not just New Tech hallway, but the hallway that we was at. So what happens was that I sprayed some, DC sprayed some, CJ sprayed some, and then before the bell rang, we saw new tech kids walking and everything, walking down the hall. They was in the line. They smelled that mess. Some was cursing like, "Man, what the F is that smell?" Things like that. And then when that final bell rang, I cannot tell you how crazy that situation was, because people, kids, students was walking down this hallway where we was all just chilling at, and then out of freaking nowhere, people lost it. And what I mean by like people losing it, it was the smell. Like, people could not take that smell. I remember folks just covering their faces, like people was cursing, like, "What the F is that smell?" People was making stank faces. It was so freaking funny. I remember just me and a whole bunch of people just laughing our butts off. And not just laughing, I was crying laughing. Like, tears was coming out my face because it was that freaking funny to me. Everybody else that was like doing it too, because I have never seen so many people react that way. Like, it was that funny. And it was, nothing after that, I left the school, like I left out those doors, and I continued to stay around the grass to just get the reactions of people. I saw teachers that I had even coming out that way, and they smelled that mess too. They was like, "Man, what is that smell?" Like, teachers had a concerned look and everything. Then I just got on my bus, and I was in it for a crazy day. Then, no, before I got on my bus, folks was coming up to me asking me did I have more of that spray. And then I was like, you know what? I probably am going to buy some more, because that was a funny reaction. That was a very funny reaction. And then I would say another crazy instance that happened was that one day I was just chilling in one of my classes, and the boy Key popped up, and this was economics class. And my economics teacher, he was a real cool guy, and he wasn't there that day. And the substitute, he didn't care. He did not care at all. He wasn't bad or anything. He just didn't care that we talked or whatever. So the boy Key pops up. He was like, "Yo, what up, T?" I was like, "What's up, Key?" He was like, "You got that stuff?" I was like, "Yeah, I got that stuff." And put it in his pocket, he was gone. And so apparently what had happened was that Key, I think CJ and somebody else had sprayed it down the freaking school bathrooms, and it just left out it left out a awful smell. And like, if you know who EDP 445 is, then you know how bad a school bathroom is. I would never use a school bathroom in my lifetime, and I never did unless it was a very serious situation. I did number one. I would never do a number two in the school's bathroom, just because. And the school's bathrooms was disgusting and everything. And they told me that everybody refused to walk down that hallway. It was that bad of a smell and such. So I go to my fifth rival class, and apparently CJ and I'm going to give this person a name, Harv, had sprayed that classroom down with the fart spray. And the messed up part about that was it was my class that I had to go to. And I just remember seeing people's faces like shocked and all, saying, "Man, what the F? Oh my God. Like, why does it smell like eggs up in here?" And I was sent by one of my friends whose name is Zach. He knew that I was doing this and everything. And he was like, "This is your fault. You're doing this. This is all on you." He was like, this is all on you. You did all this. You're responsible. Like, he wasn't mad like he wanted to beat me up, but he was mad like he knew the kind of garbage that was on. He knew the kind of time that I was on and everything. And I think there was a substitute for that day either. Like, that day was just filled with substitutes. And it was funny. To me, it really was funny. And then the days where I did not have anyone to hang out with whenever I got out of my 6th hour, I would usually just be by the New Tech hallways, and then I would just spread down the hallway. I would just spread down the hallways, and I would just go to my bus and just chill. And I had a friend named Wesley, who I'm still cool with. He knew that I was doing it too, because I used to see the reactions of people and everything. They was just making stink faces, covering their faces. And then whenever Wesley got on the bus, when he saw me, we just started to laugh because he knew what kind of time that I was on. He knew the garbage that I just committed. So this is around like mid-March, like not, I think this was like almost the end of March. I was still doing this and everything. And so the last day comes around. This was for spring break. And it was just me, DC, a couple other folks. We was on that time again. And I think when the bell rang, DC started to spray down the entire hallway, including New Tech. And he was just walking too, just spraying that mess down the hallways. And the reactions of people was funny to me. We was all laughing and everything. And then I got on my bus, and that was it. That was pretty much it for March of 2017, as I was officially off on spring break. And that was pretty much it. So I'm on spring break and everything, and I'm watching more videos of this prank happening. And then I decided that whenever school started back, I was going to do something extremely crazy. I was on some crazy time. I was on that get rich or die trying time and having fun with the pranks. So my plan was that I was going to buy not only the fart spray, but the booty spray and stink bombs. And my plan was that I was going to create a spray that was mixed with all of those 3 things. And I bought those things. I have like a box of like 20, maybe even like 25 stink bombs. And I was ready. I was ready. So the first day comes back of spring break, and I got everything in hand. And before I left, my mom was worried about me too, because she knew that I was doing that. And she was like, just be careful, because she felt that something bad was going to happen to me on this day. And so I make it to school. I see my usual clique, you know, everyone that I described and everything. And I showed them my stuff. And they was walking on the other side, and I was trying to walk up to them and everything. And I was showing them something, and a freaking stink bomb broke on me. And I shit you not. Tell me why within 45 seconds, everybody that was hanging out at the main building of the hallway was gone. I am not lying. Everybody was gone except for the people that I hang out with. They was like, yo, T, what the F is wrong with you, man? Like, come on, man. And I gave a whole bunch of stink bomb boxes away to like 10 to 15 people. So first hour, nothing happens. Second hour, when I get to English, this is when my reign of terror took a turn for the worse. Apparently, during the first hour of English, a lot of people that was in my clique had that class with Mr. Coon. And so apparently they were on some punk time, like fooling around with the stink bombs, like messing with it, throwing it in the heat vents and everything, just messing around. And someone failed to get the box and everything, because another person who I mentioned in one of my story times, to Mark, who beat up CJ, he posted the box on his Facebook talking about, so this is what people have been doing and everything. And people were commenting over under the pic saying, man, folks is childish, etc. and everything like that. And then 20 to like 25 minutes, it was Mr. Coon. He got a phone call from, I didn't know who at the time, but then he was like, yeah, CJ was at my previous hour and before. Me, Key, Ty, Dare, Mez, Tim, we all heard what was going on. And I started to get a little bit worried, like, what was that? Like, what's going on? So then 10 minutes later, a security guard comes to the classroom. He was like, yeah, I need to see T and everything. And then when he said my name, my whole clique looked at me and everything. They was like, oh, shoot. Like, I'm in some trouble. I am in some deep trouble. And I go walk with the security guard. I asked him, do you know what this is all about? He was like, nope. I was just told to come get you, and that was that. And if I had knew that somebody was coming for me, I would have tried to get rid of the evidence as fast as I could. Although it might have smelled like it, but maybe I might have gotten away with it. I don't know. So I get to the assistant principal's office, and we're going to call this person Mr. Carr. Yeah, that's his name. That's his name. His name is Mr. Carr. Mr. Carr, he was the assistant principal of my grade, which was the 11th grade. And to many people, Mr. Carr was a real cool individual. To me, he was too. Like, he was a really cool guy. So it was CJ. He was there talking to Mr. Carr, and he was selling out so many people that it was not even funny. And what I mean by like selling out, he was snitching on everybody to save himself. And by the time that CJ got done selling out folks, it was like 8 to 9 people just in this small room with like one long table, and we had to give up my backpacks. Yep. When I first got there, Mr. Carr was like, let me see your backpack. And that's when I knew that I effed up big time. And so when everybody gets called into the office, he starts talking about how if this keeps going on, whoever is doing this, it doesn't matter that we had anything to do with it. If it wasn't even our fault that we didn't even start it on anything, that we were automatically going to be expelled for the rest of the year. And then I think I said that it ain't right, man. Like, what you mean we're going to get expelled? Like, what if we didn't do anything? He was like, it don't matter. So he started searching our backpacks. And then when he got to my backpack, he opened up my backpack and he was like, what is this? What is this? Everybody started to laugh. I was just saying, oh man, it was bad for me. Everybody was just laughing and everything because I got caught. I had everything. I had the stink bombs. I had the fart spray. I had the freaking spray that I never got a chance to spray with the 3 mixtures together. And he was like, so this is who's been causing all this kind of trouble. And then after that, there was a couple of other people in there too. The principal herself, some lady that I didn't like at all. Like, she had a real punchable face, to be honest. And they asked me questions about like where I got that from. I was like, I got it from eBay. And they was like, how much? I was like, $35. And so he starts to tell a story about this case that happened. I think it was in Texas. I could be wrong. About how it was 3 people that was trying to rob a person, but the robbery backfired and 2 of the people that was trying to rob this individual got killed. And the main sole survivor of this robbery was getting charged with everything. And so he was just telling us about how that what we were doing it wasn't bad at first. He said that had we just did it just that one time, had I just did it that one time, it wouldn't have been that serious. He wasn't going to come for me. But he said, but that the fact that every one of y'all kept doing it was a problem. Apparently, parents were calling up the school. New Tech parents were calling up the school complaining about the smell in the hallways. Like, why does it smell like this? Why does that smell like that? If I had knew that New Tech parents were calling up the school talking about that, I would have stopped immediately. And to make things worse, apparently some kids got sick because of that smell, and I kind of did feel bad about that. At the same time, not really, because it was just a harmless joke, and I did not want anybody to get hurt or get put on a shirt by accident. And so he let everybody go. And at first, he was trying to expel me for like a very long time, for like the rest of the year, because I was causing that much trouble with this prank that I was doing. But then it got turned to like 30 days. Then I was like, can I just get suspended for 2 weeks or just clean up, do some community service? He was like, no. He was not trying to let me do some community service. I would have been glad to done that. Like, I did not want to cause that much trouble. I was not trying to do that. So yeah, it went from expulsion, 30 days, and then he realized that I was a good kid, that what I was doing was a senseless joke, but I was too old to be doing that at my time. He was like, I could see second graders doing this, but you in 11th grade, come on now. And he said that he wasn't mad at me, he was just disappointed at me for what I did. And so I had to call my mom, and I was like, can I just call my mom and everything? And he was like, yeah, but you gonna call her from my phone. And my mom wasn't answering. He was saying some slick stuff too, like, what, your mama don't know how to pay the phone bill, things like that. I should have split his wig for that, but I'm not going to jail for splitting a person's wig. Don't split a person's wig unless there are no cameras. And after that, I got suspended for 2 days. My first and only time I got suspended from high school. I called my mom and told her what happened. She wasn't even mad at me. She was basically saying, I told you so, because she knew that some BS was about to happen with me, because my cousin had did this at another high school and she got suspended because of it. And I go to my third hour. I told the boy Key what happened. And luckily enough, the boy Key had, I think, 2 boxes of stink bombs. And I was like, man, you keep those, man, because I'm not trying to get in trouble no more. And so for the rest of the day, I started to mess with folks, telling them that I got expelled. And then when I told them that, there was a lot of shocked faces on their look, like, you got expelled? And I told this person, his name was DQ, about the situation. And he was like, so what they got you in the office for? Like, what happened, man? And then I told him when I got expelled, he was like, as well as somebody else, because they knew that I was a person that didn't cause no kind of trouble. They was like, you got expelled? And then when I told them what I did, they was like, that was you doing that kind of mess? I was like, yep, that was me. I told my teacher that, the economics teacher, he was surprised, but yeah, everybody was like really surprised about that. So I get to my 5th hour. I told Zach what happened, and he was surprised. He was like, you got suspended for like 30 days. That was that. And then I was like, I'm just messing with you. And he was like, man, that was crazy. And by the end of the day, tell me why CJ got suspended. Apparently the boy Key had the same class as me too, the same 6th hour, but it was 5th hour, and they was outside, and Key had did some garbage with the spray around the kids, around the people, and somehow it went back to CJ, and he got suspended. And then after that, I didn't do it again and things. But the most messed up part about this was that I got suspended for 2 days, and so did CJ. Tell me why CJ did not serve none of his days of suspension. Because CJ was the kind of individual that would get away with a lot of things that a lot of other people, including me, couldn't. And I served my 2 days. I came back. I was like, man, F Mr. Carr, man. Like, he's such a, you know what? And that was it, basically. And this is basically the end of the story. And also, a side note, I did it again for 1 day during my senior year, and it wasn't the fart spray or the butt spray. It was throw up spray that smells like barf and everything. And I did it during my senior pep rally, because every year at Everett there was a pep rally by the beginning of the year, and I did that to the whole class with a couple other folks. And That was the very last time I ever did that. And I have no plans of ever doing that again. And that is basically the end of today's story. And I would say that the moral of the story will have to be is just be careful on who you want to pull pranks with, because that person can sell you out in an instant second. And that is it. And until next time, later.